Welcome to another episode of Wrestling with Worldwide Willis. And my name is Brandon, and this podcast is brought to you by the LMG Podcast Network. Now, we are here to talk about the latest PLE Bad Blood that was in Atlanta, Georgia, that happened this past week. And we're going to break some things down. We're going to go through each match, and we're going to go over some key details that came from the pay-per-view as well. So, let's start here. All right. First of all, really cool setup. It's in Atlanta, Georgia. Want to shout out the crowd. You know, I like to evaluate the crowd as well as the matches itself. Thought the crowd was great. Thought they were really into it. You could tell that's a wrestling country. You know what I mean? Like WCW used to be based in Atlanta, Georgia. This ain't the first time Atlanta's seen pro wrestling by any means. So these people, you know, day one wrestling fans for real. Which isn't always the case in a PLE event. Sometimes it's in places that isn't known for their love of pro wrestling, but Atlanta is definitely one of those. Shout out to the WWE for, I feel like, recognizing that Black folks are a key, vital role in pro wrestling. Like we play a vital role in pro wrestling, right? From, as we all know, Black people run pop culture. So, as you know, like pro wrestling right now is kind of in an era similar to the Attitude Era where, you know, uh, top stars want to be associated with the WWE again, right? There was a time there where, yeah, a star would pop up, they'd only come, you know, during the 2010s era, like they pop up, but they had a movie coming out, so they were just trying to use it to promote. It was basically like a late night television show appearance almost. Whereas in the early 2000s, Stone Cold, Rock, Taker era, Triple H era, like they were coming in because they were truly fans, like dedicated fans of the sport, and they look cool doing it, right? Like if I'm an actor in the early 2000s and I show up to a WWE event, like I get some street cred doing that, right? Because they're like, oh snap, he like wrestling, bet. Um, Wrestling popular right now. I get a little rub from that. Where in the mid to late 2010s, like you weren't getting that, right? We weren't getting some of the biggest actors, some of the biggest football players, some of the biggest athletes, all that. We weren't getting that. Some of the biggest rappers, we weren't getting them showing up. They might randomly, but again, they were doing it from business purposes only, and it wasn't for the love of the game. Whereas right now, WWE is cooking, right? We got Sexy Red on rep episodes. Like she was on this latest episode of Raw. She was on NXT a few times, right? We got some of the biggest. We're talking about potentially Cardi B or and we had Megan Thee Stallion doing the theme song for SmackDown. We got Cardi B probably going to be at WrestleMania or SummerSlam next year, right? Like Lil Wayne was at. I think he was it SummerSlam or WrestleMania this past year. Like it's just right now it's extremely cool to be a part of pro wrestling and especially the WWE. So shout out to the WWE and leaning into that with Bad Blood in Atlanta, the capital of hip hop right now, leaning into it, having Metro Boomin, having Lil Baby, having, you know what I mean, Killer Mike, all these great Atlanta artists, having them there, and really leaning into, again, Atlanta being the capital of hip hop. And hip hop and pro wrestling have always worked well together. Always, right? It's almost a perfect match. I've criticized pro wrestling for sort of getting away from rock music. I do think there's a mix there, but I want to be clear, we should never just get away from hip hop. Like hip hop is pro wrestling in many senses. Like a lot of stuff people steal from pro wrestling to apply to hip hop with beefs and spoofs and, you know, making videos about your beef and, you know what I mean, cutting a promo basically about your person you beefing with, right? So I just wanted to shout out Atlanta, shout out to WWE for leaning in fully into the ingraining itself in the hip hop culture, which is very easy because there's a deep history with it, with pro wrestling. So I just love to see that because I feel like, again, it's just unfortunate, but you just have a lot of people out there who are just like, pro wrestling, that's for kids. And it's like, bruh, like that building that had 19,000 people in it, I would say 17,000 were grown folks, right? Like, come on, dog. Like this pro wrestling is a worldwide gigantic business. You don't become a gigantic business like that if only kids are watching. Like, come on now. Like, you know what I'm saying? This ain't Power Rangers, this ain't you know what I'm saying? This ain't Bubble Guppies or something. Like this is real stuff, right? Like we got promotions all over the world. This is a sport that's been around for a century or more. Like I just hate that narrative that wrestling is for kids. Pro wrestling is a gigantic billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar industry. We gotta, you know what I mean? So if anybody challenges you on your love for wrestling, let them know this is WWE is just as big as some of the biggest sports in the world, right? And kids watch it. Kids watch NFL. Doesn't mean it's a kid only thing. Kids watch NFL. That doesn't mean that only kids should be watching it. Or if you're a grown person, you're watching the NFL, you should be ashamed of that, right? Same thing in pro wrestling. Why should we be ashamed of that whatsoever? So to say all that, let's get into CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. I gotta say, Hell in a Cell match. This is one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches I've ever seen. To me, this is in a previous episode I talked about like in articles a particular website's top 10 matches of the year, and I went through it, agreed or disagreed with some of them, but this one has to be in it, right? When I'm doing my end of the year top 10 matches, this got to be in there. This got to be in. This match was amazing. It was brutal. It was brutal for all the right reasons. It wasn't AEW brutal where it's just like totally unnecessary type stuff going on. Everything here seemed necessary. Everything here seemed. This is basically a blood type of battle, right? Where these people have went against each other. That was the third time, and they've had multiple encounters. It's when it's super deep cut. You know what I mean? It's a blood robbery. So it made sense to have blood involved in the match. It made sense to have brutality involved in the match. And so I just thought they did it so well. They didn't go over the top. They didn't climb up to the top of the cage. That would have been cool, but like these are two athletic guys, but we don't need all that, right? We don't need anybody jumping on nothing. Like this is a classic Hell in a Cell match, which I loved. I thought it was an amazing way to start the pay-per-view. As I told you guys, shout out to Larry, he mentioned it as well, but as I've told you guys, like I don't want to get on a whole tangent about this, but like come on, man. People who thought that should have been the main event, you're smoking. Like you're smoking. Like you're thinking with your heart, not your brain, and that's okay. Not everybody's meant to be in executive roles. The people who think with their heart only, that's great. You belong in the fan role, and I appreciate you. But the people who think with their brain, like myself, understood the money makers are Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. They will always and forevermore be the main event of a WWE pay-per-view. Always and forevermore. That's just the way it's gonna go. Let's just stop having these weird conversations where the new hottest thing we say should be the main event. That's just not how the world works. Let's stop, right? Like in the Attitude Era, I'm sure there was some hot new storyline with Stone Cold and The Rock main event. Like, come on, like that's just the way it is. Let's just have fun with wherever spot those matches land. Have fun with them, and we did with this one. This one opened up the show, set the show off to a great start. I thought they did a great job of like really, I mean, putting it all on the line. Like they were really bleeding out there. Like there was some spots that were rough. The Drew McIntyre tried to hit the Claymore, but then fell onto the steel steps on his back. Oh, the corner of the steps too. I was like, oh my god! Like it was some like, oh my, the toolbox to the head. The when Drew threw CM Punk into the side of the cage that cut him open. I was like, oh, some of these were brutal, but they were needed, right? Like you could tell there's a beautiful art to pro wrestling where you take care of your person, you take care of the person you're in the ring with, but also don't overly take care of them, right? It's still a competition. It's still a physical sport. So to see Drew just throw him head first into a cage and trust that CM Punk is a professional wrestler and he'll be able to maneuver his body to where he can take this bump without dying is, I think, so dope. And like the fact that, like, you know, a lot of these spots that were in this match, it was a lot of trust involved. And it was a lot of like I trust that you're gonna take care of me, but this is gonna really hurt. And that's okay. Right? I think that one of the biggest critiques I have sometimes, especially for the women's division, is like they, at least in the main roster. I don't want to talk about NXT women's. No, shout out to y'all. Y'all doing y'all thing. But sometimes in the main roster, they definitely are trying to take care of each other so much so, and almost don't even trust their partner to take care of them. So they overprotect, right? So again, like I just thought it was some great spots um throughout the match. And yeah, it made me uncomfortable, but in a good way. It was like, oh man, this is brutal. Like this is tough. I don't know how they gonna walk out of this thing. And the dope go to sleep with the chain wrapped around his knee. That was dope. That was a cool thing. But the right person won. CM Punk should have won. Um, Drew McIntyre is fine. Drew McIntyre will be set. He's had big time, big time traction and heat for the past year, if not 2 years, right? So I don't. This doesn't hurt him whatsoever. And CM Punk, you need some. They brought CM Punk back to be a championship level contender. They didn't bring him back just to have one cool rivalry and then go back to retirement. Like they pay this man a lot of money. You need to get your return on investment. So he needs to be challenging for championships. And if he's not challenging for a title at that very moment, he needs to be challenging a top guy in a top tier rivalry. So it looks like what we're going to get moving forward is him and Seth Rollins. We'll see. You know what I mean? Seth Rollins still has to put over Brunson Reed and do a really good program with Brunson Reed. I'm hoping those two can do some great things. I really think they can. But as CM Punk heals up from this brutal match, when he comes back, I wouldn't be surprised if he costs Seth Rollins a match against Brunson Reed or something like that, similar to what he was doing to Drew McIntyre. And then eventually he can challenge later on for a title, potentially challenge Gunther for a championship. That'd be a big time. That'd be WrestleMania worthy match right there. But yeah, shout out. This match was great. It was the match of the night for sure. As far as pro wrestling is concerned, not taking into appearances and who came in at the end of the match and all that stuff. I think this was the match of the night. Even in a very good card, I want to say overall, like this card was very good. But to me, this was the match of the night. Next one, we had Bayley versus Nia Jax for the WWE Women's Championship. I thought this was a solid match. I thought the wrestling was pretty good. Like if I'll be honest, I thought they did some really cool stuff, cool spots. For a Bayley Nia Jax match, I thought it was pretty good. Not the greatest match, you know what I mean? Didn't feel like it needed to be on this card, to be honest. I thought there's some other things that okay. Without there being a Tiffany Stratton cash in, I don't see the reason why this needed to be on the card necessarily. Right. I think there was other matches that fit the bad blood moniker, right? Mello versus Andrade, Bronson Reed versus Braun Strowman. You could have had the Monster versus Monster match on, and instead of having that on Raw, have that here, right? There's some things that fit it more, but okay, I was like, okay, if you're not going to go that route, we're definitely doing a Tiffany Stratton cash in. And I liked the little pump fake, the little fake cash in, or the Tiffany wasn't really cashing in. She was just trying to help, but Nia thought she was cashing in due to the refs' involvement and picking up the briefcase. That was cool, and that pushes the storyline along. I'm all for that, but it just felt like okay, we kind of used that. Could have been a Monday Night Raw spot that would have been really good, by the way, really good, and it was really good. Um, but I just thought we didn't like without that pure cash in, it kind of made it a non pay per view level match to me personally. But overall, I thought it was a good match. could have been on Raw, and or SmackDown would have been fine. However, it was on Bad Blood, and I thought it was a solid match. Then we have Finn Balor versus Damian Priest. Again, I put a lot of pressure on this match because I felt like both these guys need to show out. I thought for the most part they did. I don't think it was a classic match. I don't think it was anything where 4 or 5 months down the line we're gonna be like that. Remember that Finn versus Damian Priest match? And that was crazy. That was crazy, right? Like I remember that. No, like I don't think that's gonna be the case. However, I do think that it was good enough to show that both of these guys still belong in the main event picture or the at least mid card to main event picture. I think main event more for Damian Priest. I am interested in the. It's funny. Finn Balor has the most interesting fan base to me, right? He had a run. Finn Balor had a cool run too. Like let's be honest, Finn Balor is one of the cooler looking wrestlers in a while. But it seems like his fans want him to be in the main event picture more than he does. I don't see I don't see Finn being like, oh yeah, I gotta have a championship. I gotta be in the main event picture. I think Finn is like, I like this Judgment Day thing. I like being with a crew. I like developing other guys. I like putting my guys over. It's their time to shine. You know what I mean? Very unselfish type of deal. I don't see that like fire in him to be like, I want to challenge Gunther for a championship, or I want to be the guy again, the Prince again. I don't see that from him. But when you talk to a Finn Balor fan, they're like, WWE is doing him so wrong, man. How he lose, blah, blah, blah. I'm just like, bro, y'all want it more than this guy does, right? And there's nothing wrong with I like what Finn is doing. Like, we all know the talent Finn is, but come on, man. Like, his time may have passed. Like, you got to get over that and be like, he might have 1 to 2 more good, vital, main event runs in him left. So I just think it's kind of interesting. His fan base is very interesting. It's very niche, right? Like I don't think it's very specific too. Like I only know a certain amount type of people that really love Finn Balor like that. And again, the dude's a star. Like I'm not gonna doubt that any way, shape or more. Like I think Finn is really good, but I just don't think right now they're just so talented to where it's like Finn, if he wanted to, I think what they need to do for Finn, if they were going to go a main event, he needs to step away for a bit. He needs to take about like a 4 to 5 month break and then come back as a dude, separate of Judgment Day, and as a dude, almost, you know, New Japan level Finn Balor, um, and you know, go that route. But this particular Finn Balor, I don't know why you guys are expecting a Judgment Day version of Finn Balor to be this, championship level contender. He's just not in this current version of Finn Balor, anyways. Um, all right, they showed this Crown Jewel Championship. Triple H revealed this. Basically, we're gonna have the world champion and the world heavyweight champion go against each other in Saudi Arabia to win this Crown Jewel Championship. I think it's silly. I think it's the one thing that annoys me about the WWE sometimes is, and this is any business, this is NBA, this is any sport league. Like we see with golf, and these people are bowing down to Saudi money, right? Bowing down to blood money, and just being like, "Oh, you'll pay us an astronomical amount of money? Sure, we'll come up with something that makes no sense whatsoever." Even though we have Survivor Series as the next pay per view, that's literally what this match is almost built like, is a Survivor Series champion versus champion match. We're gonna scrap that. And we're gonna do that at Crown Jewel, right? We're gonna sacrifice potentially our two main champions. One of them is potentially gonna lose and look worse coming out of this match. We're gonna sacrifice that because Saudi, you're handing us a stupid amount of money. I hate it, man. I hate it. And again, and I just talked about thinking with your brain, not your heart. I get that. But in this particular case, I'm cool with thinking with your heart. It just doesn't make sense to me to do this. And you have Crown Jewel. You don't need, like, there's plenty of things you can do to get eyes on Crown Jewel. You don't have to do a champion versus champion match. You don't have to do Gunther versus versus Cody. Like that's a WrestleMania. That should be at WrestleMania and WrestleMania only, right? Like or Royal Rumble or some huge event. Crown Jewel should never be in your top four pay-per-views, or Crown Jewel should never have almost your biggest matchup of the year potentially. It just shouldn't happen. And it's annoying that they keep doing this to bow down to Crown Jewel. They're gonna fill the stadium no matter what you put in there. They don't like I feel like they don't get wrestling to the degree to where they're not going to show up. If you give them a solid card, they're going to show up. It's just annoying that they're creating these stupid anticipation trophy type of deal where whoever wins is going to wear that belt maybe once or twice and then put it away and never wear it again. Like it just, I don't know. It's just a lot to do to throw it off. I'm hoping there's an interference in this match, Cody versus Gunther. I don't want either one to lose. Obviously, I want Gunther to win, but I don't want Cody to look worse by taking an L. So I'd rather just be a interference and push the storyline along type of deal. Um, but yeah, I didn't like the crown jewel thing. I did like obviously Gunther coming out there and talking trash to Atlanta and Goldberg specifically, and then Sami Zayn attacks him, who got his ass whooped the next night. But yeah, I enjoyed the segment, but the overall purpose of the segment I did not enjoy. I do not like Crown Jewel Championship whatsoever. It's a bowing down to Saudi once again and creating things temporarily to suffice them when overall it makes no sense and sorts of dims what the light that we have currently in pro wrestling, which is we're making all the right moves, we're killing it business wise, we're making all the right creative moves. This is to be honest, a Vince McMahon level decision. To be honest, like that, this is a decision you can tell is a um, TKO type of decision for real, like or Vince McMahon type of decision. Not saying he's involved, but I'm saying this is the type of decision he would have made. Is we got Saudi coming up. Let's just make up something. Let's just make up something to make them happy. They're giving us a bunch of money. Let's make up something to make them happy. Who cares the long term ramifications of this? Who cares? Let's just get our money and go back home. You know, Liv versus Rhea. I thought this was honestly the worst match of the night. I thought this card was really good overall. I thought this was the worst match of the night. I thought um Rhea Liv just ain't you know how I feel about Liv. Liv just she's not a champion. She just isn't. And so she's not gonna give you a champion level performance. This was more of a like the title didn't even need to be involved, right? In this entire story. Title does not need to be involved. Right. This is her getting a back going at the girl who took her man, who her boyfriend cheated on her with, basically. Right. The title has meant less with her than it did with Rhea. All you idiots out there who are saying that, oh, Rhea's holding up the belt. She ain't defending her title. Blah, blah, blah. What is Liv doing? Liv ain't made the title look any better. It looked actually prestigious. It was the most prestigious women's belt in the main roster when Rhea had it. Now it's probably Nia Jax. Because guess what? It don't mean jack squat with Liv on Liv Morgan's shoulder. Don't mean nothing. That's an after. The championship is an afterthought when you see Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. It's an afterthought. You know, you're like, oh, she is the champ, huh? Like you don't even remember because it doesn't mean anything on her. She's not a championship level contender. She just isn't. On Raw, you have Io Sky, you have Bianca Belair, Valkyrie, you have Becky Lynch when she's there. You have plenty of other great wrestlers out there who are championship level contenders, and you got to hold up with a person who is doing good work. Olivia's doing good work, but not in the ring. She's doing great work in the storyline, which shout out to her. She's doing a great job. But again, a championship is not needed in this spot, right? It's not needed whatsoever. And we want to talk about how our championship the women's wrestling wants more non-title feuds. This could have been that. This could have been amazing for non-title feuds and really showing that you don't have to have the belt involved to have a big time feud between two women. They fumbled that bag. The Shark Tank thing, stupid. It was a dumb idea. It was dumb. It was extremely poorly executed. The timing of the Raquel run-in was trash. Honestly, it made me angry because I've been if you've heard this podcast before, if you heard me speak on this before, I've said Raquel Rodriguez is a better heel than she is a babyface. And what she needs to be successful is be a bodyguard of a smaller champion, like she was in NXT. She's doing it seems like she's going in that direction, but we got off to a really rocky start. She interferes. Looks like her timing is off as far as when she comes in and hits Rhea. Looks like she comes in a little early. The ring announcement team, they don't know what they're doing. The ref is standing there literally watching her interfere against Rhea, but has to act like he didn't see it because the timing again is off. So he's not expecting her to come yet. So then when she does hit Rhea, he has to turn around and act like he didn't see it. The ring team over by the bell is confused. They're like, what's going on? So they think the ref called a disqualification. So then when Raquel throws Rhea in the ring, they start hitting the bell. Ding 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 ding, as if the match is over and it's obviously a disqualification win for Liv Morgan. But that's not what the finish was supposed to be. The finish was supposed to be Raquel hit Rhea with her finisher, put Liv over 1, 2, 3. That's the match. But again, it was poorly executed. Even the finish, it looked like Rhea kind of had to help Raquel get the finish accomplished. It looked terrible. Then again, the bell has already rang. Raquel puts Rhea down with her finisher, puts Liv still on top of Rhea. Again, the bell has already rang. The match is over. She puts her on top of Rhea as if the match isn't over. Liv, who Liv should have told her, hey, don't put me on top. Like as soon as Raquel started to grab her, she should have been like, hey, no, no pin, no pin, no pin. Something to let her know, like, hey, just pick me up, hold my hand up, make me look good, whatever. But Liv didn't say nothing to her, so she put her on top, looks dumb. Then Raquel, after she puts her on top, picks her up again because the match is actually over. And then it's just awkward. It looked terrible. It was a terrible execution. And like I know if I'm Triple H, I bet you Triple H in the back took his headphones off and was lighting the people in the back up. Was pissed because it looked bad, and it was your one opportunity to present Raquel as a heel, as a bodyguard, as a real threat. Because she gets destroyed on the internet, right? Because she used to smile all the time. She wasn't that great in the ring. All these other things, political views, which shouldn't matter at all in this case, but it does to these people on the internet. But she had her one chance to do a refresh, to Control Alt Delete refresh, F5 delete, and what happens? She screws it up. I don't know if it's her fault. I don't know if it's production team's fault. I'm not sure, but it didn't go well. So it's everyone's fault. And again, they're gonna have to sell people on this partnership moving forward because how bad the original showing was. So again, the weakest point of the whole pay-per-view was this Liv versus Rhea match. Again, the Shark Tank thing was stupid. Dom was barely involved at all. It wasn't entertaining. They kept cutting shots back to him. He wasn't doing anything but just sitting in the same spot. It was just it was a dumb stipulation that could have been anything else and it would have been way more entertaining. So, but in our main event, as we all knew that was going to be the main event, we have the Bloodline, the new Bloodline versus Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Now, I'm big on, to me, the business tells you who they think is the guy, right? I've always been big on who comes out first. Bloodline obviously comes out first. Cody comes out next. He's the champion, by the way. Cody's the champ, but he comes out next. And then Roman comes out there. Now I got to be honest. I'm a big Cody Rhodes fan. Big Cody Rhodes fan. I will say that. Have no problem saying it. But bruh, there was a different level of aura when they both walked out there, right? Cody came out. It was like, oh, this is cool. First of all, the band screwed up the entire performance. I don't know what that was. I don't know. It was sound issues. They were way off beat, way off. It was trash. But I look past that. Well, when Roman came out there, bro, I mean, it was like watching El Gaib from Dune when he walks out there and everybody like bows and like because they know he's that dude. That's how I felt like when Roman walked out there. Like my man walked out there slow, threw up the ones. Everybody was ones. Like it was just perfection, honestly. The entrance was one of the best entrances I've seen of Romans, and he's had some great ones. Um, Music was hidden, really good match, and I already knew, like I knew what to expect with this. I didn't know what the finish, I didn't know all the details, but I knew it was going to be a really good match. Um, Especially Cody. Shout out to Cody. Cody's a really good tag team wrestler. Um, and so is Roman, but Cody's I think is underrated tag team wrestler. Like he's been put in a lot of good tag team scenarios as champ, and every one of them has been good. You can even go back to WrestleMania with him and Seth Rollins versus The Rock and Roman. That was a great match. If they didn't have the match that happened the next night, like that would have been the talk of the weekend, right? So shout out to Cody being a really good tag team wrestler. He always does a great job when he either if he's getting this hot tag or if he's playing the baby face, getting beat up and then getting the hot tag, whichever position he's in, he does a great job. He understands the psychology of a tag team match. But I thought this was a great showcase for Fatu, Jacob Fatu. I thought he did a great job. Again, Roman, great. Cody, great. Now, let's talk about Solo. I I just don't understand how you have all those genes. You are in a family of elite level wrestlers, and you walk out there and give consistently poor performances. Like somebody needs to, again. I tweeted this. If I was Triple H, I would go. All right, we're doing some dark matches, right? We're having a bunch of live shows. This isn't going to be on TV. This is just for fans in attendance. Only people going to see this. I'm gonna put you in a fatal four way match. I'm gonna put Solo. I'm gonna put you with Gunther, Sheamus, and Drew McIntyre, and I want you to survive because that's the only way he will learn how to be brutal while also being safe, how to be vicious while also being, uh, intentional. The dude's punches right now and his strikes are so soft. I mean, it's like the person he's striking has to oversell because his strikes are so weak and so soft. He doesn't lay into them at all. And it's just like, bro, you can't be the guy. You can't be this big threat to Roman Reigns and be a poor wrestler. You just can't. Even the crowd was like, you can't wrestle. Like, what? Like, this is your main guy, the main threat to Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns, and he can't wrestle. And he's supposed to be this enforcer type of dude. Come on, man. But then you got him standing next to Jacob Fatu, who's one of the best wrestlers in their company right now. Can do any move possible. You could say, "Hey, Jacob Fatu, doing the flying wizard, do the swanton bomb, do a backflip, do a frog splash, do anything you tell him he can do. Do a 450 splash. Bet you he can do it. Put money on it, he can do it. So to me, it's just frustrating watching Solo because it's like fixable things, but it's like, bruh, you're supposed to be a descendant of Umaga. Umaga was laying in the dudes, and he was safe, but he looked like a monster. He carried himself. He struck and he wrestled like a monster. Solo is wrestling like I don't even know a comp, man. It is extremely soft. It is extremely touchy feely, very gentle. It's like you can't be that. Like your family has too much reputation to be the soft, gentle wrestler. You just can't, bro. And wrestling fans like myself are too smart, and we can see, oh, okay, that punch was trash, or you're doing the thing where you put their heads on the ropes and you feel like they're choking them or whatever, but you literally are just like you aren't pressing down, you aren't like their neck isn't even on the rope, like, and the person is having to overact, oversell because you're so bad at your job. And again, it was just frustrating to me to watch him in the ring. Everybody else killed it. Again, everybody else killed it, but he was just trash. Now, I will say this: Solo's really good at the acting portion of pro wrestling. The final sell, obviously, as you guys seen by now, Jimmy Uso is back, and Jimmy Uso has helped his cousin Roman Reigns win the match. But that key moment in the match where Roman is kind of taken advantage of, and Solo has the upper hand, and Solo's talking to Roman. He's about to hit him with the spike, but he's talking crap to him a little bit before he does it. And he looks over, quickly glances, and he quickly glances back, double takes. He's like, "Wait, what?" And he looks back, and there's Jay Uso, or no, it's Jimmy Uso with the bandana around and the hood on, similar to what he did to what he wore when he double crossed Jay Uso in that SummerSlam match. He was wearing that, and the other two members of the Bloodline was like, "Wait, what? Like, who is this dude?" And then Jimmy gives him the super kick, gets in the ring, hits Solo with the super kick. He gets Roman hits him with the spear, 1, 2, 3, and man, that crowd was going nuts when they saw Jimmy because we haven't seen him in so long. It was the perfect time to bring him back, perfect time. And we're slowly building the blocks back of getting the original bloodline together. I'm hoping. And now some people are a little concerned because they think they're gonna kind of push Rome, or they're kind of gonna do a War Games match. They're obviously gonna do the Bloodline, their members, either 5 members or 4, and then for the others, Roman's team is gonna be Jimmy Uso, potentially um, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and then potentially Cody Rhodes or Sami Zayn. And I'm like, bro, Triple H, you're too smart, bro. You're too smart to do that, right? I think you should. Now, I know some people are like, let Jay do his thing. He's killing it as the IC champion. He's popular as he's ever been. But I truly believe for this match to hit at the emotional level that he needs to hit at Survivor Series, you need to have the original bloodline. You need to have Roman, the Usos, Sami Zayn, and you need you need the manager there. Why am I forgetting my Paul Heyman? You need Paul Heyman there as well, right? That needs to be the first time we see him is he walks out. The crowd's gonna go nuts, right? But you need the OG, the OTC. You need the OG bloodline versus this new bloodline. You cannot falter and put these other try to pigeonhole DIY or Cody into this. No, we don't want. No offense, only white guys that should be in that ring. The only white man that should be in that ring when that bell rings, the War Games, is Sami Zayn. That's it. Everybody else should be of Samoan heritage, plain and simple. Right? If that's not the case, it's a disappointment, no matter how good the match is. Plain and simple. But again, at the end of Bad Blood, we get The Rock shows up. We get that, Cody and Roman kind of have a little exchange, but Roman's basically saying, like, hey, I held up to my deal, but it's smoke anytime, any place still. And then obviously The Rock comes back. And now we still don't know what that means, whose side he's on. I'm pretty sure we think it's going to be The Rock is going to lean towards Solo's side of the new bloodline. Um, but one of the more interesting things of the night, honestly, that took fire on social media was Kevin Owens turning on Cody Rhodes. Now, I just talked about how Cody Rhodes shouldn't be in the Bloodline Survivor Series War Games match. I think a way to get him out of that is to have what they did, have Kevin Owens turn on Cody Rhodes. So now you have a main event. Now you have a match here. So in Survivor Series, you can have the War Games match with all of our Samoans and Sami Zayn, and you can have also a match that night, Cody Rhodes versus Kevin Owens in a rematch. But this time, instead of being friends, they're rivals. They're true enemies. People will love that. They'll eat that up. And people ate up this turn we had, right? Kevin Owens turned on Cody, but it wasn't in a ring. It wasn't in front of a bunch of people. It was literally caught by social media, and it was brilliant. I mean, brilliant. They knew fans are there. Fans are going to take their phones out. They had Cody and KO standing in front of Cody's tour bus. They were having a discussion, and then KO just starts wailing on him, right? Starts beating him up, and they knew this is how brilliant this is. They knew the crowd was going to catch this, take out their phones, record it. All of them were going to post it. All the media sites were going to pick it up, and it's going to gain super traction. That's almost going to gain more traction than just doing it like a normal, heel turn type of situation in the middle of a ring. And he's teased it slowly but surely, but we didn't think he'd actually do it. Now he did it, but in a very cool, new, inventive way. And now the way WWE is handling it is like, hey, we're aware of this issue. We're going to handle it internally, which adds even more intrigue because now we want to know, okay, what the hell does that mean, right? What do you mean you're going to handle it internally? Why isn't this front page news? Why isn't this the start of Raw? They're slowly but surely handling it, and so I'm excited to see how it's handled on SmackDown Friday and see how things go. But again, Bad Blood accomplished what it was supposed to accomplish. It held it down, gave us amazing moments, some amazing matches, some amazing moments throughout the night. Memorable. We got a lot of love from the hip hop community. We honestly made Bad Blood a viable pay per view again. Again, Bad Blood hasn't been a thing since I think '97. They said in 1997 when Kane made his debut against Undertaker. That's when last time we had a Bad Blood pay per view, right? So it accomplished what it needs to accomplish, and so shout out to WWE. I would give this an 8 out of 10. Definitely 8 out of 10, based off that Hell in the Cell, the Hell in the Cell, and the main event, and the ramifications of this. I think, and the KO Cody thing, the ramifications of that, like Jimmy's back and all these things, like yeah, definitely strong. I'd probably give it an 8.5 out of 10, honestly. Um, and we're on a hell of a run. Bash in Berlin was fire. SummerSlam was fire. This was fire, and I'm expecting Crown Jewel, we'll see. I don't really count it in my mind, but Survivor Series I think will be great too. It seems like we're heading in the right direction for Survivor Series also. But again, let me know what you think. Let me know what you thought of Bad Blood. All the folks out there, shout out to y'all for listening. I really do appreciate you guys listening to my thoughts on pro wrestling. It's definitely a dope experience to hear people talk about my opinions. That's always really cool to hear. But yeah, let me know what you think. Hit me up in the Facebook group, on Twitter, on Instagram, whichever. Hit us up. Let us know your thoughts on Bad Blood and what you are expecting moving forward, what you're excited about. But until next time, we out. Yeah.